Good evening and welcome to Burn News and Views. I'm your host, Don Burgess. And with us here this evening is Minister of National Security, Michael Weeks, and Pastor Leroy Bean, who's Gang Violence Reduction Coordinator. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Minister Weeks, after a calm, it seems like over the last couple of months, we've had an uptick in gang violence. What is your take on the current situation?
Yes, I think we have had an uptick, and we're looking to get all the relevant stakeholders in the room, because once and for all, we have to try to get on top of this and do what we can to deal with and have a proper directive of how we're going to eradicate this. This not just gang violence, Dawn, it's violence, period.
Okay. So when you say relevant stakeholders, who are you talking about?
Well, what I'm looking to do is get all the community leaders, the church leaders, the educators, the police, everybody that needs to come together. I'm trying to get them together, but we cannot think that we can police ourselves out of this. So we're trying to get the other community stakeholders involved, the churches, the community, the schools, the social services, the community and sporting clubs. I think if we reach wide and cast a wider net, we could get more of our community involved.
So you're taking like a whole village approach?
Most definitely. A nonpartisan whole village approach.
Now, roughly, when we're talking about gangs in Bermuda and or sub-gangs, what sort of numbers are we talking about in terms of groupings?
I think I would defer that question to the gang violence coordinator.
Okay.
He's got more statistics.
Yeah, well, technically, when you're talking about gang violence, it's broken up in two parts. And when I say two parts, you have those that are involved in the actual gangs and those that are affiliates. And when we start to look at affiliate is someone that creates the alibi, that supports the behavior, but they are just as much involved, but from more of an outward perspective that seems to go unnoticed sometimes. So to give an accurate number, on actual how much might be involved, people that it would probably be anywhere in the few hundreds, those that are involved, and then you have to consider the affiliates, which would take it that much further. So to be honest, I might not even be able to give you an accurate
main gangs are there?
Big button. Don, I didn't hear you.
All right, I think you're breaking up. Pastor Bean, if you can hear me, what are some of the things that you do to try to help reduce gang violence in our community?
There are a few things that we have a multi-pronged approach that we go into the schools, the communities. We deal with families. So there are many aspects of this particular what I would consider an epidemic. And I think that what it requires is for us to look as from a wide perspective. There are things that happen that sometimes go unnoticed that kids have suffered from things beyond their control. And so what we have to do is we have to assess that particular individual. And so it's not a one-man-fit-all approach, but rather we have to look at the clients individually to find out what's what. And I say that because there are some things that we can see happening within generations. For instance, like transgenerational effect that it has on many communities that has gone back for 2 and 3 generations. And so is a lot of trauma that's involved. There is a lot of things that have disenfranchisement, lack of education, and there are so much things that we have to consider when we are starting to address any individual on gang violence.
Now, I've seen you in the Gallery Magistrates Court quite a few times. What are you doing there as part of your role with reducing gang violence?
Well, based on statistics, almost probably two gang members pretty well almost every day probably come to the court, 2 to 3 gang members or people that might be affiliated. What we try to do is based on the economic situation. Many times they get fines. They come through for, speeding tickets and so on, and they don't have the money even to pay fines. So rather than that individual to get incarcerated, what we will do is we'll provide community service for them. And so it alleviates that, but it also helps us to build relationship. One thing about dealing with this particular population is that relationship is key. If we're going to start to make any headway, if they don't trust you, then it's a no-no. That means you can't make any headway. So relationship building is a key component to what we do as a team.
Yeah. Now, I imagine like people might be initially suspicious. How do you win them over, like that you're trying to help and you're not trying to be like the law and just hammer them?
Well, definitely we're not the law because we work for the Department of National Security, whereas police work underneath the governor, and but definitely not the law. But I think what we do is we try to meet them where they're at. It's one thing to if a man's hungry, you know what I mean? It's almost like a biblical parallel that you see in the scripture. You feed him, and by you feeding them, they open up, and that goes metaphorically in a lot of ways, such as they might have a need for a job, they might have a need, medical need, or someone to visit, their parents, which they're concerned about, other caregivers, and so we try to meet that need. And once we meet that need, it opens trust. People can feel when people are genuine, and I think that's a key component in dealing with this particular population.
Now, I
also
know. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
We also take a non-judgmental approach. We don't go in because someone says something about somebody and we form a view of that individual. We try not to do that. We always go in and very more open and engaging and try not to be judgmental in our approaches.
Now, I know you tend to be a spokesperson or the coordinator for the gang violence reduction. But how many people are working with you to make this a group effort?
Well, we have 3 on the team. We have Darren Woods, who's manager of the youth, and forming programs and so on, and statistics. And then we also have Bishop Glenn Lendy, and like I said, it's what's so critical is the team, and the ministers just come on and actually I'm working with the minister before some years ago, long before I came into the office. Matter of fact, we used to go quite regular, when there was shooting or whatever, and to visit families and so on. And so he's pretty well used to some of the things that we used to do years ago.
And Minister, I know that you're new to the role of national security, but like previously, just as an MP or even prior to an MP, what were you doing and what were you seeing that was affecting your immediate community in regards of gang violence?
Well, yes, I am new to the ministry, Don, but not new to what we have to do and what we face in our communities. So prior to this role as minister, I have always been community minded. I've been member executives of various clubs, and I've worked with young men for the better part of my life, and so we have the requisite tools to try to assist in where I need to assist, as now that I'm currently the minister. So I know what the gang violence reduction team needs. I know the struggles they go through, and I know what it takes to build those relationships before you could go to second base, so to speak.
How I know previous or other ministers in ahead of you. How do you see yourself in this role that might be a little bit different than your predecessors?
Well, first of all, I have to commend my colleagues for doing what they done, and I am looking at the holistic approach, and I'm going to see where I can continue what they have done, and if I have to do anything different, then we'll go from there. But I think they've done a yeoman's job, and in order for us to deal with what we're dealing with, it's going to take it's really going to take all of us.
So, Pastor Bean, in your years of experience, what would you say are the root causes of people joining gangs?
Well, we try to get away from some things, but the truth of the matter is, one of the root causes that I find is that might be a very what I call a touchy subject, is the divide that happens between the have and the have-nots, and some of the subliminal pressures that have been placed economically and even mentally on certain individuals. I think that it plays a very crucial role. Certain things automatically are just going to happen psychologically when we develop certain things. And I say that to say this, that when we go and sometimes build houses up, almost 6 stories, and put them in a certain area, and certain individuals in there, automatically can cause crowd. But crowding psychologically is a tool for aggression to express itself. And so there are some things that need to be probably even addressed and looked at it from a different perspective if we're going to start that. And that's just one of the things that I see. However, like I said, in certain neighborhoods, certain families, and certain things, personally, I stayed in a very small cottage with my mom and my sister, single parent. And, parenthood plays a great part of this here in how we want to raise our children, what we want to see them accomplish, regardless of whether they accomplish it or not. We want to lay the pathway, and that people can understand that the family structure, regardless of where we come from, if we present the right tools, we present the right foundation, and let that child know and deposit in it values and do what we have to do, we start to shape the very psyche of that individual, where they might need help in challenges, academic challenges, and other challenges that they might have. It's important to address and then to get the help. And so parenting is probably one of the greatest foundational tools that we can actually present to our children. So some of this stuff has to start from home. We try to get away from it. We can blame government, we can blame everything, but some things have to start from home. The moment we start to to ignore that, what we're done is we're creating monsters. I've seen certain things that have happened when it comes to parents becoming friends. And so as a result, you start to even fear your children because of some of the things that we have allowed them to get away with. So this thing of friends with your children is okay, to be their friend. But when it's time to instruct them and to direct them, I believe that we as parents need to, regardless of what you've been through, regardless of your struggle, every parent most times wants their children to be better in a better place than they are. So I think parenting is probably played a crucial role, and the lack of in many of our young people's lives.
I'll open this up to both of you. What sort of resources can we give to parents then to help them with their children?
Well, I think that one of the resources is that we can actually give. There are a couple places around. You have a family center. You have other places that are around that offer help and so on. And I believe that what needs to happen is that sometimes what we do as parents is that with this new modern time, we have a tendency to, while technology is becoming very progressive, certain things are starting to happen. What happens with most of us is we have a tendency to try to strip away the way we're brought up to do something new. Then what our parents done for us actually worked. The foundational principles actually worked. I think sometimes we move from foundational principles to create something else, thinking that it'll be easier and faster. But what has happened in the meantime is the psyche of that individual, that child, is now going another way. Gone are the days where that you can go outside and play cricket and football and so on. And while they might seem simple, they've been replaced with video games, which desensitizes our children. So it's no problem for them to go to a video game and shoot all day and think that it's normal. But what's happening to the psyche is they're being desensitized. Certain things are taking place, neuropeptides and some, certain things are being released that's causing adrenaline within that child, that they start to respond, based on something that was only a game. Now in their minds, it becomes real. So, this becomes the foundation of many of the things that we have experienced with this maladaptive behavior.
Now, how young are we losing people to gangs? I mean, what's the youngest person you've seen? And what's a
Well,
I'll go.
I've,
What's a typical age?
I've heard, talking with some people and speaking their allegiance to certain things as early as 8 years old. But remember that if they're brought up into an environment, their psyche is being shaped since they're born. And so that would be an unfair statement to say it starts at 8, because someone can actually start earlier if parents are training their child's psyche, what they see, what they hear, what's being done in front of them. It's crucial.
Now, once somebody has joined a gang, how difficult is it to get them to change their way of life, or to peel them away from that?
I think it depends on what they've done. Let me just be real with you.
Okay.
If certain things have been done, then what's going to happen is that regardless of how long they might appear to be out of the gang, the truth of the matter is, if certain things are being done, they'll never be forgotten. So it's about a time and a place. And so you have so many things that have gone that not necessarily going on. How would I put it? It appears to be going unnoticed, but the truth of the matter is, those that are involved know exactly what's what, and there is always something there within that individual to seek for revenge, when not given the opportunity to retrain their thought pattern and try to bring them on a more positive path.
Okay. Pastor Bean, once we know that there's an escalating situation, what does the gang violence reduction force to de-escalate it? And I know this might be a bit sensitive, and if you can't give an answer, that's fine. But can you give a situation maybe where that happened?
I think that the reactive approach sometimes is the one that we commonly see. But the truth of the matter is, we're out there every single day. So every time we build relationship, every time we speak something positive, we sit down and we get them a job, or somebody actually gets a GED, or even somebody going to college. These are the type of things right here that we find that, that when we're speaking to them, it's de-escalating the whole time. It's reshaping their future. It's redirecting them into another area. And I think that what happens with many people is that we see certain things take place in Bermuda and we act reactive. But I think that if we remained in the post that we are, and what I'm actually saying is done, that every helping organization is needed, especially around antisocial behavior. And what we need to do is work. What we need to do is learn to work. Collaborate. It's got to be a collaborative effort between each one of us. Nobody has to move the post to deal with certain things. Sometimes you just need to stay there, and and certain things will be referred to them. And so I see in Bermuda what happens is we get very we are reactive in our approach, almost like something being done. But the truth of the matter is there are some situations that have taken place behind the scenes that if not relocated, if that person is not taken out of danger, then it's inevitable that certain things are going to take place. Will we be able to stop everything that's taking place? No. But I believe that what we do is we reduce and manage certain stuff that sometimes cannot even be quantified necessarily by way of statistics. We can go in statistics and we can show how we touch base per month with 15 to 1,600 people a month. With the schools and outside the schools, we touch base to find out their pulse, how we can help or how we can redirect. We can talk about doing like 83, case management over a period of time, or having 16 members for 30 weeks at Redemption Farm, or 16 members in the high school program. We can talk about things like that there, and sometimes we never could really do it justice or quantify what we actually do and the changes that actually take place in these young people's lives.
Typically, what are some of the beefs that end up causing violence? Where does it get to the point of gangs retaliating against each other?
I didn't hear your first part. It broke up.
Sorry. So what are typically some of the beefs that end up causing gang violence, causes retaliation, or causes things to escalate?
I think that some of the beefs that we experience is what it appears to be simple. There are subcultures almost sometimes fighting against each other. Like, it's interesting, when you go to the school, you will have certain people from certain areas, and they have different philosophical belief systems based on what's happening. Sometimes they clash. I guess that is the foundation of almost all wars that take place. The concepts and things that take place within people's minds, how they're raised, how they're brought up, who has what, and so on. I think things like that definitely can cause beef. I heard lately a lot of it might be because of the economic situation, and so as a result, people are going around and they're robbing each other. And it's so easy for a person to rob somebody that is dealing with illegal activity, because 9 times out of 10 they're not going to call the police. So people are trying to survive in their own way. And so you'll find that a lot of the beef can take place like that. It could take place by somebody, killing, a family member, or, a sibling, or so on. And as a result, it also can take place if we don't start to get it, to really stamp it out. This can take place with children that have experienced their fathers being killed. And if we don't get to them early, we're going to find problems in that area. And, I guess.
Minister, what do you think is Minister, what do you think is one of the biggest successes that you've seen Pastor Bean and his team be able to do?
Well, success
I'm
can be
not sure.
quantified. I'm sorry, Don.
Sorry, I was just asking what seems to be some of the biggest success that you've seen Pastor Bean and his team accomplish.
Well, I've seen the impact that Pastor Bean and his team have been having, most notably in our schools, in up Cedar Bridge and Berkeley and the other schools, interacting with the young man, a whole lot of the young men, and in some cases young women, and steering them on a different path. So I've seen that, and I know that is having an impact on the whole. So that is one of the successes that I see, and I know that the relationship that they're building, they have gotten some of the youngsters to get them jobs and help them get the GED, help them turn their lives around, and those that were thinking about taking a negative path, Pastor Bean and his team have definitely steered some away from that.
Okay, so sorry, I'm having a lot of connection issues at my end. So
Yes.
we're going to give the minister and Pastor Bean a chance to have a last word, and then we'll wrap it up. So we'll start with you, Pastor Bean. Any last thoughts or comments?
I think that definitely the minister's approach of what he talked about initially when he actually started off with the collaborated approach, the approach that's going to take each one of us, as you had what I call it, put it. You started to talk about how that it's going to take a village if we're going to start to see anything take place. Each one needs to pick one. Every one of us at some point is going to come in contact with someone that might be prone to antisocial behavior, and what we need to do is at least try to redirect them. We're not going to be responsible for the actions that they take, but we're responsible for what we do. And I believe that we need to be more proactive, especially when we're in a small place. I believe it's something that we can actually quail if every parent and everyone work together. And I believe we can actually quail some things.
Okay, and Minister Weeks.
Thank you, and I feel very much the same. We have to have a collective approach that enough is enough, and echoing Pastor Bean's sentiments, each one must try to reach one. Each one teach one, because at the end of the day, Bermuda is such a community that we know each other. So if we collectively say enough is enough, I think we can make inroads into addressing the violence that's gripping us as a country. Now, as a government, as the Minister of National Security, there are some things happening that we're just putting in place right now, and all will be revealed in time. But the public can rest assured that our energies are going into arresting this issue of violence, not just gang violence, but violence, period, in our communities. So we have to meet the young man where they are. We are willing to do that. We have to get families involved and other community agencies involved. And each of us, if we do our part, we will be able to find some solutions to this mess.